Now here's where the MoGraph toolbox starts getting fun, is when you start using fields. Fields allow you to apply effects such as transform or randomize to either your array systems or your instances. Let's take a look at a practical example here. Here I have created an array system. This array system is just a grid of pegs. I can hide this and make that a bit more obvious what we're looking at here. You can see this is just a single peg that has been turned into a grid. Now, if I wanted to add a field transform, I could add a transform here and adjust the position of all of these. So within my field transform here, you can see I can adjust the position, the scale, or the rotation. So I've chosen to adjust the position of the z-axis and push this entire object up 2 meters. And you can see how it's affecting the entire array system. But we can tell Blender we don't want to apply this field transform to the entire array. We just want to apply it to a portion. And to do that, we use falloffs. Now we have 2 falloffs included, a linear falloff and a spherical falloff. I'm going to cover exactly how to use those in one of the upcoming videos. For now, let's just look at how it's having an effect on the scene. Here, if I turn this falloff on, you can see that it's created a linear falloff, and everything that is within a linear pattern of it is moving. So I can grab that add there and move this back and forth in control. So thanks to this falloff, the only thing the field transform is affecting is whatever this falloff says it can. Now you can stack this to create some pretty interesting effects. For example, I actually put 2 falloffs on. I put a subtract falloff on. This subtract falloff follows behind this other falloff and subtracts the effect. So we'll talk more about adding and subtracting, but you can see how you can quickly create some really cool effects. Now, before we dive too deep into fields, I want to explain one thing. MoGraph Toolbox is often looking for instances in order to drive its effects, not objects. So what that means is that if I go ahead and apply my field transform, we can see here that I'm able to control the array system that I've created. Let's see what happens when I apply a field effect to a simple object. So I'm going to turn on my field transform here, and it disappears. And that's because fields and falloffs use instances, not objects. So if I turn on my array here, suddenly it works again. I can adjust all of my settings here because the array is outputting instances. However, if I were to realize instances, you could see here that it would break. That's why it's best if you're going to realize instances to do it at the end of the effect stack. But let's say that you don't want to use an array system. You have a group of objects you want to use. Let's take a look at how to do that. We can go to Add Modifier, MoGraph Toolbox, Utilities, and we have this object, the instance. If I drag this above the field transform, you'll see that our cube reappears, and now we can begin animating our cube around with the field transforms. So this object's, the instance, will convert any objects you select into an instance and make them work with both fields and falloffs so that you can create some really unique motion graphic effects. You'll notice the connected objects here. Some effects may break apart your mesh depending on how your object's built. This connected objects is there to help remedy that. So if you notice that your faces are breaking off of your object, come and check this on. There's also the collection option. So we can actually just choose a whole collection of objects and then use our fields on there as well. And you can see it's working with them as individual objects, allowing you to do a variety of effects once they've been turned into instances. This makes this object to instance a very powerful utility tool because it essentially allows you to take our fields and falloff effects and apply them to any object or any collection that you have. But with that being said, let's dive in and look at the various fields that we have included. In these upcoming videos, we're going to go through all the various fields. However, I'm going to be using this linear falloff to show the effects of the fields. If this seems confusing to you, don't worry. I'll show you how to apply the falloffs in a later video. Let's take a look here at the field transform. When applying the field transform, you can adjust the position of each axis. You can adjust the scale, whether you want to do it individually or uniformly, such as setting this down to 0.5. And then we also have the rotation mode to do things incrementally or as a constant. We also have the option here to offset the rotation pivot. So if I were to grab this empty up here, set the rotation here, I could actually control that as well. This is more of an advanced option, but it's useful for certain scenarios. The field transform is going to be one of your most used options, especially when working with falloffs, allowing you to control the movement and shape of your array systems or object instances. We'll be covering how to use falloffs in an upcoming video. Here we have the field randomize. This allows you to randomize the position, rotation, and scale of your objects here. Again, this is another common one that'll be used with your falloffs. And keep in mind, all of our effects are stackable. For example, here, I have an animator that is rotating everything on its X rotation. And if I turn on the randomize, you can see how now we're randomizing that look. And then likewise, if I turn on my linear fall off here, I can determine where those effects are occurring. So just keep in mind, everything here is modular and stackable and procedural. Now the field pusher does exactly what it says it does. It pushes apart instances. You can see here I can control the radius, and I also can control the strength. We can set a custom object, for example, an empty, to drive the position. Or if you want, we have an included gizmo. If I click here and grab, you can see that I can move this through and push apart as I move the gizmo through it. And as always, these are stackable. You could add a randomize, a transform, or a fall off on top of this. In fact, what you could do is use an array system to create grass, like in this scene here in my Watermelon Girl short film. Use a push apart effector attached to your character to make it look like he's squishing the grass as he jumps across it. Now, the field incremental is a bit more complicated to explain. I'm going to do my best to make this as simple as possible. It essentially allows you to do incremental transformations across all of your instances. But I think it's easier if I just show you an example. Let's look at these instances here. If I were to put a field transform on here and move up 1 meter on the z-axis, it would move all the instances underneath it up. However, if I turn off the transform and I turn on the incremental, I come down here to 0.25, you can see how it's incrementally moving across all the instances and moving them up 0.25 as it moves across. This can be applied to all transforms. For example, it can be done on the scale effect, or it could be done on the rotation. Now, another interesting thing is this multiplier up here. So if I do 0.25 here, this multiplier is essentially just how much of that effect will go. So we can go down here in the negative or reduce the effect there. The easiest way to think about the incremental is that it's essentially casting a gradient across your entire instances and transforming them incrementally. Let's take a look at the field target. This allows you to point all of your instances at one object. So if I turn this on, you're going to notice everything goes a bit haywire. So let's select an object here. I got the look at me object. And then let's make sure that we have the correct axis. In this case, I need the positive z. Now everything will be looking at this empty in the scene here. And you can see that as I move this around, they point at the object. Now the field image allows you to use a image texture to drive things such as the position, the rotation, or the scale of all of your instances. So if I zoom in here, you can actually see this is an array of tightly packed cubes. We're going to use this almost like a pixel system. And we're going to use this Blender logo here to drive the position there. So I'm going to check on position here, and I'm going to set the min max values here. I just want to affect the Z, so I'm going to set these to 0, and that way the image will only push up the cubes on the Z axis. So here I've selected this Blender logo and opened it here. So let's turn this on and see what it looks like. We can see here that it is not cropped properly. So let's look at how we do that. So the problem is right now that it is zoomed in. You can see here that it's focused on this area right here. We can actually adjust the size we have width and height here. You see that's measured in meters. So let's talk about how we could apply that to this instance, for example. If I turn this off and click our object, we can look at the size. Right now it says 2 meters, but that's incorrect. This is actually quite massive in my scene. And that's because when Blender's looking at instances, it's not realizing them as one object. So a simple way to check the size of your array or instance collection is just to come in here and check Realize Instances. You can see Blender updates and views it as one object. You can see this is about 50 by 50 meters. I'm going to uncheck that for now, and I'm going to go back to the field image here, and I'm going to set the image width on both of these to 50 meters. Now you can see that it is zoomed in and working there. You can see I have one edge line that's not working here, and that's because it was 50.5 by 50.5. Let's just go ahead and set this to 51 and scale it up ever so slightly. Now we can go ahead here and adjust the intensity. I don't want it to be quite so intense, so I'm going to set it to something like 1, and you can see that we're now getting an indent in all of our instances using an image texture. If we want, we could turn this on and drive the rotation of our objects, which is a bit hard to see out far, but if I zoom in here, you can see as well. And you can use it to drive all of these positions. We can also use this to drive the color of our material. So if I come over here to the asset browser and come to the MoGraph toolbox, you'll see here that we have a material section. If you want, you can just drag and drop this on here. Let me show you how to create it manually. I'm going to come here into the shader window. I'm going to drag one up there, and we can just plug the attribute data in there. So if I come here to the field image, come down to Manage, Named Attributes, you can see that it's writing out this, CD. That stands for color data. So we can actually plug that in. So if I come in here and create an attribute, set that to instance, put CD there, drag the color, and put it there. You can see now it's using the color of our image texture to drive across all the instances. This is one way, for example, that you could create a collage across a bunch of objects. Now, as I said, if you don't want to remember how to do all of that, we also have this handy dandy little shader image texture where you can just click and drag this on here, and you can see it already has the CD in there. You can see things here are grayed out, and that's because it was linked, not appended. That's a simple fix. Just search for make local and select all, and then you can edit it.